This call is now being recorded.
Hey, Sunray.
Hey, something else. How you doing?
Oh, fine. So, here's another one that we disagree on.
Well, you know, such is life, such is life.
Right, and that would be my name. And since you like it more than I do, I'll let you talk about it first and give your rating, etc.
Well, I'll just start off by giving us our plot synopsis, tell us about our main characters, and then give you my rating. But I am so interested in hearing about why her official words to me, you guys, was, I hated it. I'm like, oh, crap, what did she hate? I really want to hear this. So, okay. The plot synopsis is we're looking at Yoon Ji-woo's father suddenly dies. That's Han So-hee is playing that character. She's trying to get revenge and find out first who killed her father and then take revenge upon them because she feels like it was just done. And he was shot right in front of her. It was done really horribly. In her process of getting her revenge, she gets inducted, like she gets jumped into a gang. Literally, right. She gets jumped into a gang. She gets inducted into this gang and she's, dealing with the gang, trying to help basically find out who did something to her dad, because the guy who runs the gang, she has presented himself and he is the friend of her father's, and he's telling her, if you do this, you're going to have to kill somebody, and if that's the case, you better be prepared to kill somebody. So if you're not prepared to kill somebody, then don't even go down this road. She insisted, so he said, okay, well, I'm going to help you learn how to kill somebody so you can go ahead and do this work. In which case she, becomes a member. She's with them through the remainder of her childhood, because I think she was like high school age somewhere when we first meet her.
Right, definitely.
Okay, so she's high school when we first meet her, and then as she grows up, still a part of the gang, she becomes a double agent, and she becomes a spy. Basically, she joins the police force, but she's still a member of this gang, and as a police member, she's using this to try to use their resources to find stuff out and to get things, and of course report back to the gang about their terrible behaviors and activities. So along the way, she, meets some good people who she respects, and people who she's suspicious of. And so just the whole ride was just really interesting to me. I even love that during this drama, they did not delve off into this whole, let's have a love relationship. They did have sex, yes, but it was more about her having a healing moment, and I was really appreciative of that, but we'll dig into that a little later. Overall, I would give this drama, this was probably like 8.5, 9 for me. This one was a good one. I liked it.
And for me, it's a solid B. I'll just say that my name got on my nerves. It started off well. I was glad it was only 8 episodes. But I'm waiting until after the spoiler alert to kind of get into it a bit more. So
I think we're there.
Ready to spoil it?
Yes, I think we're there. We've given the synopsis. I don't think there's much of, because again, it's an 8-episoder. People have probably seen it by now. And if you haven't and you're listening, we are going to highly suggest right now, stop, walk away, go watch, then come back and join us.
Right. Stop, drop. Okay, no. I'm like starting on a rap song. Okay, let me stop. Okay, so I'll say that I may have told you at the time I hated it. I don't hate it. It just disappointed me. It just disappointed me. And it disappointed me because, first off, I felt that she was very naive. This was another drama, frankly speaking, that from maybe episode 2, I was like, put a pause. I jumped to the end. I confirmed what I needed to confirm, and then I bounced back and finished watching it. Because from get-go, I knew what was up with who actually betrayed her and her father. And I kind of low-key was like, ma'am, how did you just, even if you were a teenager, how did you just believe wholeheartedly?
Because of her own vision, what she saw. He came to her door again. So the person killed her father, walked away. She sees the black hoodie with the look. Then later on, when the person comes and knock on her door, it's the same look. So I
Right,
understood
but
after
I'm
she
saying,
immediately
but
thought it was that
not the person. I mean, like, who she thought did it. Like,
the police
she's
officer.
assuming it was a cop. I'm like, you saw how the cops were moving when they were dealing with you. You knew
No,
that the
but I'm
cops.
sorry. I personally could understand it because he showed back up at her door the next day looking like what the killer had on. So it made sense to suspect him. What I didn't like and what I did kind of get frustrated about was okay. So I got frustrated, but then just now as I was about to say it, it played itself out for me. I was frustrated because I'm like, why didn't she just ask him when she first met him? Because she was undercover as a double agent, so her real name wasn't even being used. But go ahead.
Right. Well, when I was watching it, regardless of coming to her door and all of that, I was like, ma'am, like, why do you just automatically believe the gangster? Like, even if she was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gangster for help or whatever, she just took that lock, stock, and barrel and just ran with it. Like, for years she ran with it. And it was like, no. Like, even if you thought everyone was saying your dad was a gangster and all this stuff, ma'am, if your father was really a gangster running with a certain type of person and then supposedly cops are covering themselves up to come to to kill him. I don't know. I just didn't believe it. And maybe it's because I've watched a lot of television and there's always that surprise ending. Maybe it's that. But I just was like, her naivete got on my nerves. And so that was one of the issues. The second was somebody had talked about her fighting style, like it was an actual fighting style, like there was something extra going on with the fight scenes. So I had this unfortunate, overinflated idea of what her fighting would be, and it was completely in my own mind. So I know it was my fault. But I thought that the fighting style, because they were talking about how, like, the gangster showed her, like, these are the pressure points. And I kind of low-key was like, okay, y'all got a couple of pressure points on me, but, like, the average chick in the world knows, go for the eyeballs, go for the, for the nuts. Like, some of that was just, like, basic, and go for the throat. Everybody know that. Eyeballs, throat, nuts. Everyone knows. So the extra ones were nice. But I was kind of like, okay, is that supposed to be her magical training? Like, is this supposed to be the thing that makes her a badass? Because I was like, I don't know. I was expecting more, especially since I like an action film up to a point. I wouldn't say that I'm ride or die, like an aficionado or something like that. But I like the John Wick movies. I loved Atomic Blonde. I like a good fight scene. And so the fight scenes were just serviceable. Like, they did what they're supposed to do. They were, I think they were a little bit more than average, but they were not where I thought that she was just this badass. Like, she was just bringing it. The way that, you may not have described it that way at all when I say you did, but like other people in the Twitterverse or elsewhere were describing it that way. Like, she was doing big things. I was like, no, like, she's just scrappy. She just don't give up. I applaud that in her, but that's not, that was another place where I was a bit, disappointed because I don't know. I expected, ultimately she won all her fight scenes. So I guess, kudos to her, but I don't know. But you can talk and then I'll hit my other points. What did you like or dislike?
So what I liked overall, like I said, was I enjoyed the fact that she, was on this mission for her revenge and she stuck with it. She hung through, went as far as, again, becoming an undercover cop. Not even an undercover cop, like a double agent working for the cops in order for her to do this work. What I didn't like and what I thought was a little bit just like crazy was like they had one scene where the guy, they were on the ship or something and she was able to shoot a bullet and nobody knew it was her. Nobody caught on. Like, come the hell on. You got all these policemen up in here looking for, trying to get this one man. Everybody is on 10 watching everything, and you're able to shoot off a gun and nobody knew it was you. Really? Yeah, I don't know about that. That part was a little no for me. And then the fact that somebody was like, well, why didn't she give you a heads up? And I think he questioned her about that, why she didn't give a heads up. And in my mind, I'm going, so y'all really think the police gonna tell her every damn thing? Come on, now I'm gonna need you all to be a little wiser too. You can't expect her to have known all of the ins and outs of every step of what was going on. Those things annoy me, but overall, I enjoyed the way they handled it. I enjoyed the way the show went. I liked the surprise element because, again, somewhere in there, I figured out it was him anyway. But still, getting to the point where she realized it and getting to the point where she realized it and she's able to, now address it and deal with it and the betrayal, because for her, by that point, she had fallen into this whole man's web. Everything he had told her, she believed it. She was working off of it. She was, on it. And so, like, listening to that, or her watching her go from that to realizing, oh shit, you the one who killed my daddy? Like, that was a whole lot. And the guy who was working for him was another somebody who I was like, wow. So all along he had been a little shady with her, but I don't know. I wasn't feeling him from the beginning. Like, I felt like he had some underhand something going on no matter what. And at one point they presented it like he was a double agent for the police, because they had him showing up at a meeting, even though it was fake and put together, had him showing up at that meeting and looking like he was getting ready to share or talk to the police, and it put the seed of doubt in old boy's head. Her relationship with Pildo, I enjoyed because, like I said, I feel like Pildo saw her more than she thought he did. He was able to, like, kind of help guide her in certain ways, even though he suspected her at one point. He was able to guide her in certain ways. And their sex scene, I liked it because it wasn't just sex for the sake of sex. It was, and it was, to me, more about her, because when you think about it, she never had anybody love on her like that. Her father was trying to do what he was trying to do, and later, just because we're already in spoiler territory, we realize he's a cop who was working as an undercover cop with the gang, trying to infiltrate the gang for the police. So it was almost like they were doing complete opposites. Not almost, they were doing complete opposites. And so her father always being gone, didn't her mother die or something? She didn't have a mother in the home.
She didn't have her mother in the home.
She had no one else. And so, like, as far as having someone touch her, love on her, just, being kind to her, he was all of those things, and I love that for her.
Right. So let me go back, because I was thinking a couple of things, and I like all your points, but maybe I disagree slightly in some places. So the second in command, I felt like they could have fleshed out his character more, because he was a good character for a lot of stuff, because he was the one who from get-go was like, you want to walk away. You don't want to be in this life. And I felt like there was a place where if they had given him more motivation, instead of just making him the stooge for the, gangster king, it would have been interesting. Like, if he had been actually checking for, if there had been some element of, like, second lead syndrome, right, or second bad guy syndrome, if they had done something there where, excuse me, if they had given him something more to work with to make it more motivation than just, hey, I've been told to kill. Was just, and so I think that was a slightly a missed opportunity that maybe if it had been longer than 8 episodes, they would have explored, but it was everything to have the secondary bad guy, the crazy bad guy who showed up and was like, the crazy racist bad guy. So there was so much there. Yeah, Scarface. So there's so much there that, I guess you couldn't get, there was no room, right? 8 episodes, there wasn't room. And then I think regarding, cause see, it's like I think of him as Yumi's boyfriend. And right, okay. So I didn't like that despite him not trusting her, he kept on giving her shots. Even when he would verbally say he didn't trust her, he was still like defending her and backing her up and all that stuff. And that didn't really sit well with me, especially when he was like low-key spying on her. I'm like, okay, you spying on her, but up until she saved him from the crushed car, it was like he was still kind of protecting her, and it didn't ring true as a character. Maybe he was giving her a lot of rope to hang herself with. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know, and I think that leads to my other disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Other than let me say this. Okay, so part of my disappointment in the fight scenes is that I recently watched this. I forget what country it's from, but it's not Korean, it's not Japanese. Maybe it's Taiwanese action film called Chocolate. And if you have a chance to watch it, because it is pure action, pure fun about a young autistic girl who is trying to help her sick mother, and so she has to go around collecting debts. And it requires that she fights a lot, and she has like super fight scenes. It's fabulous. It's old. If you have a chance to catch it, catch it. But that was my standard in my head too. So let me throw that out there, because anyone who's watched Chocolate, they're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about a fight scene. You relate to me now. Okay. But the other disappointment other than the fight scenes was that, and we said spoiler alert, I didn't like that he died. I didn't like that they killed him as a motivation for her turning the corner and becoming the super badass. It's like they did this thing where they go, you're the good character and we don't trust you to kill, so we're going to make sure that we take something from you so that you can turn that corner. Because remember, the reason they sent the second in command to kill the older police chief or whatever, the lieutenant or whatever he was because they didn't trust her to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Even though they had put this whole thing in her head, they didn't trust her to actually do it. And so it's like they went, okay, in order for us to make sure, I'm not talking about like the actual characters, I mean like the writers. In order for us to make sure that she's then in a position to do the final kill, we don't have to kill her man. Like, you don't have to kill her man. Like, you really didn't have to kill her man. You could have, like, let me tell you how ridiculous it was for me, how unrealistic I was all the way up until, like, there was just no choice. When they shot into the car, I was like, okay, maybe they hit his shoulder. And I was like, just don't hit him in the head. Then I saw they hit him in the head. I was like, well, maybe he'll have, maybe he won't be able to walk and talk, but he will still be alive. And then his eyes stay open, and they weren't blinking. I was like, blink, damn it, blink. You alive. Like I fought tooth and nail. Watching that scene, I was like, y'all killed him. For real, killed him. I was like, no, I'm done with this show. That's when I was done. That's when I was like, yeah, we know she's going to get him at the end. I don't care. What she got to live for? She has given up years of her life for this whole revenge thing. She didn't have anything else. Like, all she had was her daddy. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to do this revenge thing. They done messed with her mind the whole time, messed with her emotions the whole time. All she had was this dude. Not like you're just supposed to live for a dude. Not like saying that, But, like, can't you let her have something? Could you have let her have him at the end where she goes into the hospital and you think that he's dead, and then you find out that no, he's not, and he's just like on life support? Like, I'd have taken him on life support, y'all. No, that's why. That's one of the reasons why. It's a major reason why. I'm like, no, I didn't like it. I didn't like the show. Like, even me thinking about it now, again, it just gets on my nerves.
I hear you all up in your feelings. Yes, you're all up in your feelings. I hear you.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, no, because I was just like, she really had no one. And knowing how crazy the world was that she was in, like, they protected her. They put her off to the side because they needed her to have a clean record for all intents and purposes, even though they changed her name and all that stuff. They needed her to be clean to go do that work. He knew he was going to use her like that. He knew what he was doing. Like, yeah. And I don't even say. And then they just dude, they killed him? No. I rebuked them in the name of love. I rebuked them. Anyway, you can talk.
Well, I'm going to say I do agree with you that I was really peeved and pissed about that part because, again, I'm with you. I didn't see the need for him to die. Her going on to get rid of old boy, she was going to do that regardless because he was going to make her. He wasn't going to let it be an easy fight, and it wasn't. But them killing off old boy for that was dumb. And then him coming out of his, you were the kingpin and you get in on a motorcycle and you're the one who did the killing in front of all the cameras and the bodies and the people. And
right.
that was so unrealistic. So, like, at that point, it was, to me, him saying, the kingpin dude, him saying in so many words, I am giving up. I'm throwing my hands up and I'm saying, come and get me. Because nothing else made sense.
Yeah, I mean, and see, that's the thing. I'm never gonna watch it again, so you'll have to explain it to me.
No,
Like, why did he just completely give up the ghost and just say, I don't care, I'm gonna go down a place of glory? Like,
again, that's all that made sense to me. I couldn't make anything else work in my mind for why he did that. Why it was just, again, all of it was dumb. That part in my head, because she would have killed him regardless. She would have gotten to the place where she was frustrated enough to kill him without having to go there. I apologize for yawning. I feel like maybe that was his way to force her to be a killer. I don't know. Because he had been asking her that from the very beginning. Will you be able to do it? Will you be able to kill? Will you be able to take the person? He'd been asking her that from the very, very, very beginning. So, I don't know. Was that his way of forcing her to kill? I don't know. However,
well, I
like
think
the
that
drama aside from that.
Well, I think that he was, I don't think they got into enough, I think they touched on his motivation, as much as you're going to do in 8 episodes, but I did think that, he was, in his own way, tortured by killing his friend. I think he really, you know, even though he knew he realized belatedly that the friend was a cop, I think that, he, you know, he was constantly looking at that picture. And so I think that because he didn't need to string her along. He could have just killed her and went about his life. You know what I'm saying? Like, a true gangster would have just been like, you're a loose end, pop, pop, you know, and kept it moving. I think that there was a place in him where he was like, hey, especially when they were like, quote unquote, young in the game, I think that, and I think there was a level of kind of, like, I think there was almost familial, I'm saying it badly, but a family bond with her, because later on he was talking about how, like, I wonder where my friend was going with some woman, and then I realized it was you, and he realized, oh, okay, because it was like he was low key jealous a little bit. Like, okay, is this some woman who's taking advantage of you and all this stuff? And then he was like, no, I don't need to know. If that woman makes him happy, then I want him to have that woman. And then he was like, but I didn't know at the time that woman was a child. It was you. And so, I don't know. I just didn't even like that the daddy, like, was in that kind of work when he had a whole kid. Like, I was like, what kind of, because it couldn't have been for the check, sir.
I think for me that was frustrating in that I really wanted to know why she didn't have any other support systems behind her. If your dad was the support and your dad is doing this undercover, can't come home type of work, like, why was there nobody else that was there with you or for you, or, I don't know, like, you didn't have an aunt, a grandma, somebody?
There were too many holes of, like, yeah, even if they had a neighbor, somebody who was like, I didn't like it at all. Like, it just felt like, I mean, it was only 8 episodes. Okay, so here's my thing. In a weird twist, now we see the holes that exist when writers who are used to writing 16 episodes have to only write it.
Have to pare it down.
When Netflix does this to them, I'm gonna blame Netflix. When Netflix, it's not Netflix's fault, but this is what happens. You know, just like we were talking about, hey, could American writers, television writers, really flesh out something in just 16 episodes without having to do multiple seasons? This is the reverse of that, because I'm like, there was no loving parent is just going to be like, I'm building no support system. You're just going to be the kid who feeds themselves and just figures it out while I'm out in them streets. Then I'm going to take, and she was old enough that he didn't, even if he had started doing that work when she was like a baby somehow, he could have jumped out at some point. Like, he should have been done with it when she was a preteen. He should have been still writing that work. That was a relatively, even when he died, that wasn't like he was in the game or in undercover for like 10 years. That wasn't a big chunk of time. He didn't mean to do all that. And then the fact that they're kind of low-key watching him and watching how he was moving and stuff, like, dude, come on. It was just janky. And then he's so worried about her, he decides to show up. Sir, you've been riding with killers. Don't you ever put yourself in front of your daughter's door, because you're riding with killers. You're riding with killers. Like, it wasn't even, oh, okay, kill me. It's like, kill her. So, yeah, you know, her crying on the phone, sir, you better harden your heart, because if you were feeling that kind of way, you shouldn't have been in the game. He should have had, especially if he was part of the police force, they should have packed his butt up and sent him to America. They should have happened to America. Because with that kind of gangsterism, he couldn't have just gone to hometown cha-cha-cha for a couple of years and been all right. No, he would have had to completely leave South Korea. You can't, that kind of gangster? Nah, son. There's no fish town for you. There's no, incognito for you with a kid. That would have been a plane to America, and you change your name. Because they can get on planes too, right? You know, gangsters can get on planes. So assassins can get on planes. So I'm trying to see. Oh, I have one more point, but you talk, and then I'll give my final.
Okay.
Really shallow, superficial point.
For me, the last part that I think I was very disturbed by and kind of felt like they let him go too far was the Scarface character. So the actor is Shang Real, and he played Do Gangjae. He's the one who came up with the new drug, and he was doing, his thing, and he had tried to basically rival the sexy, because can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He was cute. He was handsome.
The Kingpin was cute.
It was handsome.
Yes, I liked him. Oh, I liked him. I don't know what it was. I said it's terrible. This the bad guy, but I'm feeling the bad guy.
Yes, he's fine.
He was. But so he was calling himself rivaling him, and I just felt like for him to have been his understudy and to have been as just mentally off as he was, because he really was kind of teeter-tottering between sanity and insanity. For him to have been in that mental space and dealing with that kind of, I'm trying to have my revenge through this, his whole plan was really off, and they allowed it to get too big. And that part I didn't get, because someone would have seen him before then. Someone would have caught him before then. There were other gangs involved, and I'm going, how they just let this one gang come up and take them out like that? That don't even make good sense. I'm not getting.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I think that they knew he wasn't completely 100%. I think, first off, I don't think he was as high up as, like, you may have said a few seconds ago. I think he was one of the boys. I don't think he was like anyone who had any kind of real heft in the organization, right? He was
when he was there, no, not at all. He was just one of them.
Right. He was just one of the boys, and then he just happened to be so stupid that he tried to rape her.
Right.
That was his only claim to fame. I think that they thought I think they underestimated him and just left him for whatever because they didn't think to clean up loose ends. They didn't think if this person leaves my organization, I better kill him for real, for real.
Right.
They just were like, they were just lazy about it. Now, in a perfect world, you would think that, you know, a la The Wire, you know, you make sure you tie up those loose ends, right? You know, Barksdale and the gang, they'd have killed him and had him left in a slop house or whatever you call it. They'd have had him dead for real. Like, they'd have had one of the little other kids kill him and keep it moving. And instead, they didn't do that with this dude, to their detriment. So I totally agree. But maybe he reinvented himself because, I mean, you know, going from, you know, a regular old, you know, gangster boy to like the Joker, you know, it's like, okay, sir, like, he was doing way too much. It was like, sir, you're committed. That's makeup. That's, you know, teeth. That's time. Like, does it take you 30 minutes and an hour to get ready in the morning? Like, that is a commitment. 'Cause it wasn't his hair color too. Like,
yeah, he had dyed it that blonde.
Right. To maintain that color, sir, that means regular salon visits, okay? Or some girl or some guy who is coloring that hair, okay? That's effort, sir. It was just too much, but I agree with you. Yeah, there were holes. There were just little holes, and I'm sure there are other people who who saw bigger holes. It just got on my nerves. As time went on, it was like I was watching, and then I was a little disappointed, then a little dissatisfied here and there, and then I was full blown like, you've broken my heart, you know, and then I was done with it. I just wasn't trying to watch it anymore. So do you have any other points before I drop my shallow and stupid point?
Nah, that was pretty much it for me.
So my shallow stupid point is that yet again, you know, I'm going to call her Skipper because the lead actress, Han So-hee, always and forever reminds me of Song Hye-kyo, who was an Encounter. Every time I see her, when I saw her in Nevertheless, she reminded me of Chick from Encounter. When I saw her in this, all I could think to myself was, other chick is Barbie, you are Skipper. Because I think there's like a 10-year age difference. So I'm like, short of them having been twins, and one of them was cryogenically frozen, and so they look too much alike to me. Now, I may be the only one, you know, because I'm not, it's not that whole stereotypical stuff, people look alike or whatever, races. No, they really do. I've posted pictures, y'all. They look alike to me, and every time I see the young one, the Skipper version, it irks me. It irks me just a little bit. Not a full point, but half a point. It irks me.
I don't see that. I'm just, you know, I don't. I saw the post and I didn't comment because I don't see it. I don't think they look alike.
They look alike to me. When I see her, I'm like, chick, because also I've known, some, you know what, it's like I always knew, it's like I know people according to
you sound like you're underwater. You sound like you're underwater.
Hey, Kill. I knew her first from Full House eons ago. Like, one of the first dramas I ever watched, Full House. I knew her from that, and a few of her dramas since. Was she in Descendants of the Sun? Okay. And then, even though I didn't really watch Descendants of the Sun, I know some of y'all are cursing me out right now. I don't care. I just came live for that. I tried to. I was in some ways place watching it. I think I watched like 2 or 3, 4 episodes, and after I visited her, I never watched it again. And I love Encounter. And now, what is she in that new one with dude from Search WWW? What is that one called?
That is, Now We're Breaking Up.
Yes. So I'm watching that one too because clearly she can't be my favorite actress if I don't know her name like that. But, I'm not going to be hypocritical that way. But I'll say that, I enjoy her work. She's always been cool. And so every time I see Skipper, it just, I don't know. Maybe when Skipper has more of a body of work that I've watched, then I will like give her props on her own. But right now, the way that show used to be talking about Not the Mama, I'm like, not the Encounter chick. Every time I see her, I'm like, not the Encounter chick. So that was my own, like I said, shallow point. And that's all I got.
All right, so now, out of curiosity, you said a B is to get the rating you're giving it?
Let me pull that up again. Yeah, I think it's a B. I think it's, in my notes, I'll have solid B+. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
If I hadn't walked in with the fighting expectation and my particular preference for, like, I'm always trying to see great fight scenes. If you're doing more than 2 fight scenes in the show, I would like you to use some level of innovation. And I don't think they were just serviceable to me. There was no innovation. So I think that if particular things, and if he had not been killed, I would have still given it a B+, like, frankly. Let me just keep it 100. But maybe I would have made it an A-. But him being killed, that broke my heart. I was done.
Yeah, I told you, I'm not going to lie. That was a no for me. They could have kept that.
I mean, they ain't just killed him. They killed him dead like he couldn't come back. Like, they killed him like there was no rehabilitation of the spirit, the body. There was just nothing. Like, his eyes, they showed his eyes unblinking. I was like, why you gotta do us like that? That's like, I'm not just gonna hit you, I'm gonna pimp slap you. Like, they didn't want, no. And who makes that kind of shot in a car where you get them so well that, like, in a moving car, that you do like a straight,
the cars weren't moving, remember? They were sitting.
Huh?
The cars weren't moving, they were sitting in traffic.
Oh,
and he drove with that motorcycle.
Yeah. No, that's true. My bad. Thank you.
So, okay.
Like, you just look at the picture and she's like, I don't see it even. No, I'm telling you, if you go back and look at, if I can find the picture that I did side by side with them, I'm sure somewhere, somehow, they don't look the same, makeup and all that stuff. I'm telling you, when I see Skipper, they are similar enough in the face that's all I think about. I go, oh, there's the Encounter chick. There's Full House. It just, I don't know if it's the spacing of the eyes. I don't know what it is, but that's all I see. And then I have to, I tell you, when I saw Nevertheless, I went, wow, Encounter chick looks much younger. I'm telling you. It took me a second. It took me watching. I was like, okay, I know she's in her 30s, or at least, and I was like, no, how did they do that? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is a completely different chick. That's how seriously they look the same to me. I didn't look at her and think, oh, okay, this is a young actress that looks like her. I looked at her and went, oh, this is the Encounter chick. How does she get her face to look so young? That's so weird. Anyway, anything else to add before we end this episode? This BGS phone call? Okay.
I think for me that is it. You've heard our takes, and we would love to hear from you to know your opinion. What do you think? How did you feel about the drama? This was one of those very controversial, so I've heard lots of people say lots of things. So, love to hear your take. What do you all think?
Yes, because you would be like, something else, you tripping. They don't look anything alike. And I'll be like, you would lie. I trust my eyes before I trust you. So, I would respectfully disagree with you, but you might be able to convince me. You might be able to convince me.
There are people out here, because as I am searching, there's a whole YouTube where they are talking about, are they twins? No, they're not. But, okay, I guess I get it.
You're right. Thank you. I'm glad that exists to co-sign me. Not like you're fighting a good fight. Like, you're wrong. You're not saying that. But, yeah, I'm glad to know that there's a movement going.
Because, at the end of the day, it's again, I don't know if I'm in my Zen mode or where I am right now, but I just am. But everybody has their opinions. And opinions are, as my mother, I share this with all of my, close friends, so I guess I'll share with you guys. As my mother always says, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. We all have the option of having our opinions and thoughts, and whatever you choose to do with it, that's on you. That's your thoughts. So go with it. I don't have to like it, agree with it, and again, I feel like one of the things that is highly important for people, especially those of us who are in this realm of being podcasters or content creators or people who share our opinions, is that your opinion is not the solid and only opinion. There's many opinions out there. We are just sharing ours.
Right. Especially since I just saw another content creator in a different genre talking, she, not all the time, but I've seen maybe one other post where she kind of reads off some of what, people who disagree have, commented, and then she talks about it, and she doesn't talk about it because she's beyond that. She doesn't talk about it like, I have haters and this is what haters do. No, she's not doing that. She's looking at the content of what they're saying and they disagree with, and she's talking about, oh, this is where I could agree with you, but this is where I disagree. She's very well thought out. But one of the things that she did say was, in what I saw today, she was very clear, when you're a content creator, you are out there. And people just assume they just come for you you're supposed to be the be all end all, and if they disagree with you, you have disappointed them. You have broken their hearts. And it's just no, it's just an opinion. If you get a mic and you have your computer, you can do this too. Hell, if you have a phone, you can do this too. It's not we are super experts. We are just trying to have a good time and have the conversation and be represented and represent some folks, and put that out there. The thing that we love. And that's in any genre that you look at. And so it was just interesting to see her kind of talk about that, how the moves that she makes, when she changes things, it's not like she's talking about the haters, but she's just talking about this thing called social media, this thing called content providing, and the psychology of how people relate to folks who provide content. So it was interesting. But but anyway, that's all. It is the weekend, and so we can each find ways to continue enjoying the weekend. So this is something else, and
Song Ray.
You guys have a good one.
Bye.